So quiet there. All right, I think we, up 6 o'clock, we can get started. I'd like to call to order the Canandaigua Town Board meeting for October 18th, 2021. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Lisa, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Gary Davis.
Present.
Councilwoman Linda Dorzak.
Present.
Councilman Terry Fennelly.
Present.
Supervisor Kathy Benifats.
Present.
Councilman Jared Simpson.
Present.
And Lisa, can you also please confirm that the meeting was properly advertised?
But
All right, attached to your agenda online, there is written communications. Please review them at your leisure. Before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the following birthdays for Town of Canandaigua employees and committee members. October 31st, Jesse Cooper. November 6th, Pam Post. November 7th, Chris Leitz. And November 11th, Dale Zucadis. Happy birthday, everyone. At this time, we have our first privilege of the floor. If anyone would like to be heard, remember it's 3-minute limit. Those are our rules. I am the one who enforces them. So please let me know if there's anyone there that would like to speak or anyone online.
Don't
No one? Okay, thank you. No priority business, no presentations. We have continued public hearing on the submission of a CARES CDBG CV grant application or fund associated with the costs associated with COVID-19 recovery and promotion of outdoor recreation. Can I have a motion to, I guess we don't really have to do a motion, but a motion to reopen the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, would anyone like to be heard on this public hearing? Okay, seeing no one, thank you for letting me know. Can I have a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
Any discussion on closing the hearing? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. We have a new public hearing on the Town of Canandaigua 2022 preliminary budget, including general town funds, highway, special improvement districts, lighting districts, drainage districts, and fire protection. We have a motion to open this hearing.
So moved.
Okay, would anyone like to be heard on this public hearing?
Yvonne would like to be heard.
Okay. Yvonne, if you could come up to the microphone.
There's some confusion in my head. Who is responsible for putting the budget together? I've heard town board, I've heard town manager, I've heard both.
So we don't do question and answer at this point. I don't know if I can tell you that generally Doug is the budget officer. We all review the budget though at different times. We all get a copy of it. And we have had some meetings, finance committee meetings, and with input from all town board members. Ultimately, it's the supervisor's responsibility to make sure it's put together, but it's the responsibility of each town board member to review it and comment, as well as all of the department heads for requests, etc.
Thank you. I guess my question is, and I left my notes at home, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe with the salaries, there was one that was reduced for the supervisor, and I believe, if I remember correctly, everybody else got a raise. So I don't know if you can answer this, but my question is, why was that one position lessened?
Oh, Yvonne, they can't hear you online. Adeline is commenting that they can't hear what you're saying. You gotta speak loudly for the people in the,
Is there a microphone up there?
There is.
There's nothing we can do. She's
maybe
just
you
gonna
can
have to
talk
speak up
louder,
as
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Speak louder, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Does anyone want to answer Yvonne's question on that?
Okay, my question was, I believe it's the supervisor's position that the salary was lessened, and I don't think that anybody else had a cut in pay. So my question was, why is that one position reduced in pay?
My understanding is that before I came on, the salary was set at $20,000. I got cost of living adjustments. I don't think there's any set rule as to how those increments go up. I do think that's something that needs to be addressed in the future. So it got set back to the previous amount. When Greg left as supervisor, it was 20,000. So that's just as an aside on that.
So has it gone down again? Since
No,
you-
it's where it was when I started.
Okay, I thought it looked like it had come down a little over $1,000. I can't remember the exact figure. But my comment on that is I've been coming to town boards off and on since 1982. And the only time that the supervisor's position, or any position I believe, was reduced was when they went from full-time to part-time. And I have never heard, and some people can correct me here if I'm not remembering correctly, that anyone has had a salary lessened. So thank you.
Anyone else want to be heard? I don't. Anyone there? Anyone online? Doug, I thought, was there someone, Mark Tolbert.
Hey, Kathy, I think Mr. Tolbert wants to be heard relative to something else, not the budget.
Okay. All right, so next privilege of the floor, we can make sure we hear from you. All right, anyone else on the budget? Okay, next we have reports of town officials and department heads. I
You
want
want to close that hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have reports of town officials and department heads. Jim, Highway and Water Superintendent.
So a couple things tonight. Kathy, unfortunately, I got a letter late, so I cannot share it with you. But what I handed out tonight, a letter from the residents of Bushwood Lane. And they've been dealing with the construction of the VA for a couple of years now. I've had unsuccessful negotiations with the VA and the contractors over the past 2 years, trying to keep their equipment off the roads, keep their equipment from blocking the road, and pretty much making the road useless when they're gonna be done with this project. And asking for funds to get reimbursed, which I keep being told no. So I had a resident last week come to my office to express his concerns, and I told him, please put the letter in writing and have the residents sign it. I'll present it to the town board tonight's meeting, and then we would have a discussion about what can or can't be done about the situation out there on Bushwood Lane. So I'm not looking for any action tonight. I'll bring it to your attention and discuss it further after that. Okay?
What are
And
they,
just,
what are they building?
It's a $300 million expansion.
That's
It's
the
a
house.
huge.
Oh, no, I'm saying, is this the townhouse section, or is,
It's
it's a
No,
big
it's-
building?
it's just a
No,
lot of
it's
construction.
multiple.
A lot of construction, okay.
Right. So, we can discuss this, Public Works possibly, Terry, you see what we're doing about.
Is there anything the sheriff can do though?
Right now, we have no, nothing's in code about no parking on the streets. And you The only time you can't park in the streets is November 1st through April 1st.
Well, it doesn't look like, and I'm just skimming this, I'm just seeing it now, it doesn't look like they're parking in the streets, it looks like they're blocking the streets.
Did they do that also? Correct.
They're not allowed to block the streets.
Correct.
It's your street as highway superintendent, and the town's allowed to take action to shut a construction project down if they're blocking the road.
And it says they're blocking driveways too, so.
Right.
Well, the construction project is on federal property and has nothing to do with the town, so.
So.
The road does.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Chris, it's just, it's hard to get the ear of the federal government to care about the 300 feet of road that they utilize to get to the VA facility.
Have you talked to the sheriff's department?
I have not, I've talked to the VA facility.
Well, I just wonder if there are any blocking driveways and certainly littering, I mean, throwing garbage and cigarette butts all over. I just wonder if there isn't something in vehicle traffic laws that, you know,
Yeah.
the sheriff could
There,
do.
there's a lot of stuff we can do, and it's not the Secretary of Veterans Affairs who's building this, it's local contractors who are subject to us, to our rules, and our highway superintendent. And there's a lot of possibilities we can pursue. If you want to give me a call tomorrow, I can help you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great.
Harry, when you speak, can you put the microphone a little closer to you?
Yep, is that better, Kathy?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear Terry, so
Oh, I'm
if you
sorry.
could just put it like closer between you, then that would.
Okay.
I think it was you.
And just
Terry.
public service message. I'm not trying to speak on behalf of all the employees of the town, but I would like to let the general public know that the last month has been a little rough on staff with, people seem to be very angry at the government lately. And we're all trying to do our jobs here. We understand that you're not happy about things, but to be called on the phone, to be yelled at, to be called names, to be demeanored or just put down because you're not happy about something. We're not those people that get yelled at. We're here doing a job every day, and the past month has been tough on the phone or emails. And I just want to say to just everybody, if you're upset, take a minute before you call, then give us a call about what it is you're upset about, because yelling on the phone doesn't solve the problem lately. So, just want to speak, let people know that we're not here to cause you problems. So,
I take it you're getting a lot of calls at their office out here?
and emails,
Emails?
yeah, so.
Anything threatening or?
No, just short on patience and, not always understanding the full story.
Well, are usually in a situation.
But this past month's been a little rough, so.
Well, I would like to thank you on behalf of everyone for, I know how difficult it is. It's around, I think everyone's going through that, but you guys work really hard and you're on the front line and you deal with the public directly much more than a lot of us. So thank you. I know it can be very difficult when people are losing their tempers and yelling at you and taking out all their frustration on you. So I'm sorry that's happening. Wish there was more I could do about it. But please let everyone know that we support them and appreciate their patience. It's hard not to snap back, right? But, you know, we take great pride in how we deal with the public. And so I appreciate that. And I am proud of all the work that they're doing. You all do. You take it too, Jim, but as they say, you get the big bucks. I don't mean that literally. You're in charge, so sometimes you take the brunt of it. So thank you anyway. And I apologize on behalf of
Well,
the people out there that are not being polite or even civil. That's what we take, right? Civil.
so
Are the crews being respected when they're out?
they are, but again, it's
Yeah.
the point of just lately, people are a little sharp, more than usual, so.
Yeah, I don't feel like our employees should be abused.
No.
So I feel like it should be acceptable to say to somebody, why don't you call us back when you can, not use profanity or whatever they're doing? Because in reality, people have to know that there's a limit to their behavior and we're not gonna let our employees be abused.
And
I
at
mean-
some point, if it becomes too abusive, it's criminal in nature, so.
Right.
If there's any, so
So,
making reports of it.
Or ask them if they'll mind if you record this conversation for training
that's good.
purposes. And then, take their name and everything, and maybe they'll start to be a little more, polite. But yeah, I don't want us as a town board to say that it is okay for you guys to be abused. It's not.
No, I don't think that, I don't think anyone thinks that, I'm just
Nope.
putting the word out there, well, that's it, just, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next we have assessor, Pam.
I don't have any other comments other than the report that I submitted unless you have some questions.
Anyone have any questions for Pam?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much. Leaf, I can't see if you're there. Those your
Not
feet
there.
are,
Leaf is under the weather.
okay, thanks. Lisa, do you have anything on behalf of town clerk's office?
No, nothing.
Planner, I see Shauna, do you have anything? Would you like, this?
I do not have anything unless you have any questions about my report. I have nothing else.
I don't see any questions. Thank you very much, Shauna.
Thank you.
Doug, anything from town manager?
A couple things just real quickly. So I'm watching a couple of comments about audio. We are continue to make improvements relative to hybrid meetings. It's obvious here in the room. One thing about audio and the microphones that are in front of you is the microphone that's in between Linda and Jared is actually the hottest microphone right now, the one kind of into the front of Linda, right here.
Oh, this one.
No, the other one. Oh, that one. That is what I would call the hot mic. The other mics are subsidiary to that one right now. We're waiting for an audio interface. It's been very difficult to get supplies and pieces that we need with the chip shortage that's running everything all over everywhere. And the new piece of equipment is actually supposed to be here on Wednesday. Not much help for tonight, so we have to kind of manage through it. So when you guys are talking at that end of the table, I know like Jim and Terry, I've seen a couple of comments. Maybe if you could just look down this way, it might help a little bit. This microphone is a little bit, it's the hot one for right now, so.
Well, I think the masks are also muffling
masks
people, so
muffle,
it was good
right.
that you took your mask away
Yeah.
so people could hear you.
And then also in this room, these projectors that are here currently, they'll be recessed up into the flush with the ceiling once they're done. We'll have the two drop-down screens on one on each side. The screen behind me will have the Zoom feed so that you can see everybody that's participating by Zoom for all of our board meetings, including with Planning Board, Zoning Board. The screen that's behind Jim, that will actually be where we share like the agenda and like anytime there's sharing of any information so that everybody can see it in the room, as well as if you're at the podium and you want to look at something or point to something. So that's kind of all in process, a variety of different things there.
Is this TV stand?
No. We'll repurpose that. A couple of other things just real quick to share with you. We did receive a request from RSM. I wanted to let you know. Looking for a bonus density and to move forward with a subdivision of that property. We need to have some additional conversations with them relative to their application. So Shauna and I will be looking through that and bringing something back to you in the near future. There is a request for the bonus density. There's also a request for the town to purchase that piece of property. So there's a variety of different moving pieces there. I also want to let you know I received an email from the history team regarding cemetery mowing, concerned about the mowing of cemeteries and concerned with some damage to some of the stones. They have a couple of suggestions, essentially, one of which was either to continue to contract out a separate contract for mowing of cemeteries separate from other town properties like parks, or to hire staff to do mowing of cemeteries ourselves. They looked into a number of the other cemeteries in the area that the Village of Victor, Woodlawn Cemetery, all use their own staff. We've contracted that the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe longer than that now. We do have a new contract this year with a new company. There were a number of issues with that company. We're getting ready to put out a new RFP, and we were already planning on separating cemeteries from parks, because I think one of the issues that we ran into is this particular company struggled with keeping up with all of it. So we'll break it apart and see if we get the same bid, you know, from multiple entities or whatever the case, and bring that back to you in the future. And then I think you all know, but we did receive word, I know at the last town board meeting, Matt Horn was here about the LDC. The town city joint application, the LDC application, was selected as a finalist for the $20 million, $10 million Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant, and we presented last Wednesday, and we got very, very positive feedback. So hopefully we'll have great news to share with you very soon. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, and thank you for the work on the LDC project, and on behalf of the town of Canandaigua, we'll keep our fingers crossed. As far as supervisor and deputy supervisor, monthly financial reports, et cetera, are included. Next, we have reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Finance, do you have anything, Linda?
Nothing further. We are going to be holding our Thursday meeting this week, discussing a special topic, the Uptown Business Improvement District.
All right, planning, Terry?
Does this work at all?
It does, but this one works better up here.
Well, I can speak better about this too.
Don't blow that torch.
I know you had a couple things, Kathy. One is, our last Public Works Committee meeting, we planned on having Rob Richardson there from Genesee Regional Planning Group to talk about community choice aggregation program where you band together, you get better electric rates. He wasn't able to make it, so he's going to come in our next meeting, November 5th, I believe it is. Sanitary sewer, County Road 28, still waiting on Ontario County, right, big guy? And ARPA funding, we had talked about going out to people in Cheshire again, engaging their interest in the sewer project that we talked to them about a couple of years ago, using the ARPA money to help defray some of the costs. So I guess we're going to be sending a letter out similar to what we did for people at Grandview Park, asking if there's interest, if we were able to do something as a talking point, like cutting the cost in half on an annual basis, would you be interested? If there's interest, then we would suggest that we have a meeting with them. And if there is real interest there, then we go back and do the income survey and get back into the whole program again. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Ordinance, Gary?
Yes, we have a couple items on tonight's agenda, and Shauna put some information in regards to tonight's meeting about the ordinance committee and what we're working on at the present time.
Okay, thank you. Planning board. Chuck, I know there's an attachment. I don't know if you're present. Anyone?
No.
No.
Nope.
No.
ZBA? No?
No.
Environmental Conservation Board?
I didn't share it with the board, but I shared with Doug the most recent update to the reorganization. It's getting closer. I think that can be sent to the ordinance committee to take a look at that and send some tweaks back to us in that process. I would also, at the last meeting, we discussed efforts for conservation, and the ECB fully supports efforts to preserve historic buildings and properties within the town. So as those come forward, we fully support those. And I also, this isn't, she sits with the ECB, but I just want to make a public comment and a thank you to Shauna. I was visiting someone a few weeks ago who's had some frustrated dealings with trying to get approvals, but he had nothing but rave reviews working with Shauna through the process and trying to go through it. So, you know, he's like, this has been frustrating, but she's been amazing through the process. So I just wanted to give public kudos to her and thank her for keeping us up to date and working forward in the UCB. And that's it.
Thank you. And I skipped over you from the committees because I knew you were coming up for ECB.
Good
I
save.
assume that was everything. And thank you, Shauna, as well for dealing with the public in such a professional manner. Anyone want to speak on behalf of Citizens Implementation Committee? No? Parks and Rec? I don't. Special Events Committee? And Agriculture Committee? All right. I neglected to mention this earlier. Before we go to our next privilege of the floor, I would just ask if we could just have a moment of silence for Morgan Shar, senior at Canandaigua Academy. It's been a rough couple of days for the kids at the school. I know Morgan and her mom very well. And I'm just asked that if we could have a moment of silence at this time. Okay, thank you, everyone. If we can move on to the privilege of the floor. I believe Mr. Silbert wants to be heard.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, and thanks everybody for allowing us to continue to do these virtually, and I'd rather be there with you tonight, so thanks for that. I am at 35960 Tichiana Point, for those that I know you typically like an address on these. I'm contacting you tonight because I had a chance this afternoon to listen to the Finance Committee preparation, the moments that were on the YouTube channel for that related to Canandaigua Shores. And in that, I heard a few things that I either wanted to help clarify from our standpoint, and that's when I say our standpoint, I'm talking about the more than 1,000, actually we're a little bit over 1,200 concerned folks that have been against this project. It was stated during that meeting that there wasn't a lot of feedback yet, or not as much opposition to that. And I can tell you that being at the forefront of many of these more than 1,000 people, there's still a great deal of concern, and there's still a strong desire for this project not to happen. The reason you're not seeing as much opposition to it yet is that there was approximately 1 week between the time that we had a chance to see the plans to the meeting. The density on the project has not decreased significantly, and it's possibly increased with the addition of multi-story properties that are there now. And it was mentioned that they would be less visible, and that's actually not the case. They floated a balloon at the project where you could see the roof line, and from 364, that project will be highly visible. I do have to commend them at their efforts to actually try to modify the aesthetics and address some of the traffic calming concerns. But the real issues of this project relate to the environmentals. There are still safety concerns, as well as the cost of the community. There are major traffic concerns. We're still talking about more than 450 cars per day. Most of the concerns that existed before still exist. There was a question about the dedicated road, and there, as I heard it, the developers hoping that that continues to go through to County Road 18. So that's about 3,000 foot of dedicated road. When they were asked about connecting the water supplies, the comment was that there's not enough pressure at the top to do that, so that those would go on a different water system. So there would be safety concerns there. So there's just a number of concerns with the information that was carried forward so far. The group thus far does not want to see this project approved at all. And there's actually concerns that stalling is happening to gain an extension, because then less people that are concerned will be local, and that it is a stall technique. So the belief is from the group is that this project should, if it has to go back through the process, then it should start over again and have to go through the process. The group is still adamant that we must be stewards of the lake and the community. So I just, having heard the informal comments related to the planning for this meeting and whether or not an extension should be granted, our group of the opposition against Canandaigua Shores would strongly recommend that it not be approved. And the final reasons for that is that there's so many components of this that actually either go against the comprehensive plan of the town or don't align with it perfectly. There's many other purposes that this parcel could be used for that fit within the comprehensive plan. And most importantly to that is in the town survey related to the comprehensive plan, I think the citizens clearly indicated that these types of projects should specifically not be done in this part of our town. So I just wanted to bring that out and share those comments and concerns from the dozens and dozens of concerns I've been receiving from our community. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard at this privilege of the floor? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to resolutions and motions. We have continued resolution 2021-175, secret determination of non-significance and adoption of a text code amendment pertaining to zoning in order to allow for the replacement of certain pre-existing signs with digital signs.
Do you want to do 208 before you do 175?
So Kathy?
Yep, I heard.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
was wondering if there was any discussion about how this was going to handle. So we're going to do 2021, well, we won't move that to the floor. We'll do 2021-208, authorization for certain officials to execute a legal settlement agreement as a result of a lawsuit filed by Lamar Advertising, Canandaigua National Bank, and Joan Purdy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So are these, to explain the order of these, could you with us or Chris who can help me out? So this, can one go on without the other? Does one has to go on before the second one? How does that work?
So as part of the settlement, so step one would be authorizing the settlement agreement, which is 208.
Okay.
Step two, which is required by the settlement agreement, would be enacting the code revision, which would be number 175, text code amendment to allow for the digital signs.
Any
You,
further?
theoretically, you could enact the text code amendment separate and apart if you want to allow digital signs,
Right.
but not
Which
these
we
digital
don't.
signs. You
Right.
could allow, but my understanding is that's not the
The
instance here.
case, right.
If I could, the one thing we might want to consider is in the draft settlement agreement that was provided, you have a red line version that was provided by them, and then there's exhibits. Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 did not actually include the images of the signs that they provided, but they did provide that, and it's attached to the local law. So if it's okay with you guys, we would just take those same digital images that they provided and insert those into those exhibits before we execute it.
That makes sense.
And I just want to say before we vote, I do appreciate Lamar and all the time and effort they have put into this, for coming and meeting with us, and the product that they have presented. I am going to be voting no on both of these, and it's not because of the work that you have done. It's just because of the fit that I feel for the town. But I do appreciate all the work and the time and effort that you've put into this process.
Anyone else? I would also like to say, I agree with Jared on that point. I appreciate and have been thinking about this for a long time. And my concerns have to do with the signs in general, safety, and creating a new law that stays with the town forever and always for digital signs. Things change over time, and I don't know necessarily without renegotiating that this is something that I want to encumber the town with forever and ever. I have no problem with the design, et cetera. It was a close call for me on a lot of things, but just for full transparency, it has nothing to do with what you presented to us. It's just my feeling on the issue for those things. So, any other comments on it?
Yeah. On page 5 of the settlement agreement, the second paragraph, third paragraph, it talks about the event that any defendant takes any action that requires removal where it prevents the operation, where it prevents the sale of advertising and signs. Town shall pay to Lamar just compensation for converted Route 332 sign according to provision. It says the same thing for the 5 and 20 sign. If somebody goes after Lamar and says, this is wrong, and it results in an action against you, why should we pay? If we're not the ones that brought that action against you, I don't.
Terry, where do you see this?
Page 5.
Page 5.
I think they took that out.
Thanks.
Grandfathering of signs is different.
Do you have, which
I think he's
version
looking
do you
at
have,
the
Terry?
Going from?
Going from the one that's labeled.
Are you looking at the red line version or the
Oh, right here, right here. So
page 9? Okay.
this is something that we negotiated in round one, that we had them put, unless otherwise required by a court of competent jurisdiction, in the event that any defendant takes any action that requires removal or prevents the operation of signs. So if the town enacts this, they put the sign up, and then, January 1, the town says, yeah, we forbid it. We take that sign down. Town's got to pay them just compensation.
It says any defendant, not town.
The town and the code enforcement officer and who else are the only defendants.
It's because we're the defendant in the
The
lawsuit.
town is the defendant in this lawsuit, as well as the code enforcement officer and
Yeah, the list of.
right there, the town board, the
It's not clear
town.
to me at all. It's just
Oh, yeah,
the way it's written.
Well, defendant is defined, I know.
no, it's the, yeah. Well,
Defendants, right there. So Terry, on page 1, right at the very first paragraph, it actually does define who the defendants are.
it's the town of Canandaigua, the town board of the town of Canandaigua, and Chris Jensen as town code enforcement officer.
So if any of those entities force the sign down,
Yeah.
then
The town has to pay just compensation. The reason I was okay with that is because it's federal law. You would have to do it either way.
The word defendant in that one stopped me for a second too, until I realized that was us. Not just any random person.
Well, it says any defendant.
Right, so of the 3 of
And there
them.
are 3.
I don't like the way it's written.
Okay, what do you want me to change it to?
Just something in parentheses
town.
that says not the town.
No, it is the town.
Well, I mean,
No, if the town.
Any defendant, meaning the town, that it's not
Okay,
what
somebody.
about other than
I got
those-
you.
What
If the
about other
town.
than those specified in paragraph 1?
No,
In the
you don't want to
event
say that.
that the
That would be
town-
opposite.
Right, in the event the town, right, requires.
Right.
So we cross the word
Takes
defendant.
any action.
Reliable, yeah,
Mhm.
I would agree.
Okay.
Does that satisfy you, Terry?
Yes, at the moment.
Just for clarification, that would be the town, any of the defendants, so it'd be the town, the code enforcement officer, the town board, that's what we say.
Any of the
Not
3
if you
of
want
them.
his vote.
No, he's okay with any of the 3 of them. He just didn't like the way it was written because it was a little ambiguous
It is.
about
It says-
anyone, because,
You mean, there's not an attorney out there who would say, well, wait, it says any defendant, so it's not just these 3.
right.
Anybody.
So he wants to be a little more
I'm sure
clear.
we could find somebody who would think.
It could be all 3 of them,
So
right?
Terry, do you want it spelled out the same as it is the first paragraph? The town board of the town of Canandaigua, the town code enforcement officer?
Yes.
And then who's the
That
third
makes
one?
it
The
more-
town.
The town.
Okay.
It's just. Okay, so where are we?
So we got that. That's under section 13, called grandfathering of signs, second paragraph.
So do we need to make a motion to amend? Are we at that stage? And does anyone else have any changes they want to make?
Well, it's the execute a legal settlement, but it's not saying specifically Or is it saying?
Yeah, why don't you just direct Doug to
Finish it up.
execute it
As
with the
amended.
revisions discussed herein?
Including those exhibits.
Yep.
So that's your motion, right? That's the resolution?
The resolution
I-
says,
I didn't hear what you said, Chris, at the beginning of your. what you just said.
I had said that I think the resolution authorizes the town manager to,
execute the agreement.
Town supervisor, town manager, and town enforcement officer.
to execute the settlement agreement. And they can include that revision therein.
Okay, so you don't feel it needs to change?
Nope, I think you could just take a vote on the resolution as is.
All right, anyone else want to be heard? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no.
Nay.
I'm a no as well. Or
Did you-
nay.
Did you get it?
All right, then as to resolution number 2021-175. Determination of non-significance and adoption of a text code amendment pertaining to zoning in order to allow for the replacement of certain pre-existing signs with digital signs.
So moved.
Any discussion on this?
I have one thing on that, if I could please, on the actual local law that is attached. The draft local law with a date on it of June 15th, 2021. Section 1E, digital signs, 4C and D, we need you to amend that to 8 seconds instead of 6 seconds.
Okay, can I have a motion to amend?
So moved.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? A motion to amend carries. And now discussion as to the amended. Any discussion as to the amended resolution? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no or nay.
Nay.
I'm a no as well. All right, Lisa, I think we need a, local law number?
11.
She just directed.
It says authorized. Should we clarify? Kathy, can we ask a question? I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit out of order. The settlement agreement, the resolution authorizes you to execute it. I know you voted no. Are you gonna be okay?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's an agreed upon, but I do what I'm told, so to speak.
Okay,
Authorized by the board, I will do as.
okay. Thank you.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. The whole board, thank you for your consideration.
Can you call the judge, please, tomorrow and tell him that
Of course,
we're done?
yes, we'll do that. So we'll have to go to the planning board next, right?
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move along? Sorry, cut anybody off. Resolution number 2021-175. Let me get to that one. Sorry.
I think we're on
See you, Joe.
235.
Nice to see you.
Just get to that page. Resolution number 2021-235, acceptance of the monthly financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-236, acknowledgement and authorization of budget transfers by town manager.
So, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-237, adoption of the 2022 annual Town of Canandaigua operating budget.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Oh. You go first, Terry.
I would ask that we amend the salary structure and make the salary for the supervisor what it is currently. Yvonne said earlier tonight, I've been thinking about the town board, 4 years ago when I was elected, I don't know what the pay was then, it was less than it is now. Then 2% each year added on, and I didn't take any pay cuts, so. My pay for the next year, if I'm fortunate enough to be reelected, will be 2% higher than it is this year, and I think it should be handled consistently across the board. Just my 2 cents.
I would second that motion.
Was that a motion to amend, Terry?
Yes, that is a motion to amend.
And we have a second?
Are you gonna recuse yourself?
Can,
I
not.
don't think you have to.
can I ask a question about the motion? So you want to increase it, you said, to the 2021 rate.
What it
So,
is now, what Kathy's being paid this year, next year will be 2% higher, so for the 2020.
okay, so it wouldn't be the 2021 rate.
2% average.
So it would be 20,808 times 2%. We just got, let's be clear about this, 808, oops, 20,808 times 1.02. So it'd be $21,224.
So it's 1,000.
Is that your motion?
That's the motion.
So we're
So
gonna
that,
add
so
in.
we're gonna increase that expenditure. Where are we taking it from?
Contingency.
So we're gonna reduce contingency by the $1,224.
If that's the number, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I
So
don't know.
then, I'm sorry, let me just.
You have to vote on the amendment now.
So that means the contingency would then be $98,776, just so everybody's clear.
So Chris, you were saying you think I'm fine, I'm not being, it might affect me, it might not.
You're not
I don't know.
you're not town
I'm not,
supervisor.
so, I
Um,
don't.
and this board routinely votes on its salary,
Right.
its own salary and increases. I don't think it's inappropriate for a member of the board to vote on that.
We don't do cents. It'd be 21,224, just for the record.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
That's
I mean, you could recuse yourself if you want to, but. So do we need to vote on the amendment, or are we just voting on the budget as a whole?
We
I
should
think
vote on the
you
amendment.
have a pending motion for an amendment, motion to amend the budget.
Okay. So any further discussion on that?
Well, I'm gonna be voting against it because as we look at how our salary for our supervisor compares to local supervisors around and mayors, et cetera, we're already on the high end. And so I feel like, while it's true, we're, treating it a little bit differently. I think we had, kind of a full discussion in finance meeting, but not everybody was able to attend finance meeting about the fact that in either event, it'll be a new person, and so they're starting off with less experience than Kathy would have, so I feel like I'll save the taxpayers that much money.
Well, you could have somebody new starting on the town board with less experience than.
Well, and I'm okay with
Yeah,
keeping
yeah,
our salaries
that's
lower
fine,
too.
you know.
I mean, I've always thought we're not doing it for the money.
No. I'm
And
just
so,
saying we should
that
be
to me,
consistent. We
And,
should be consistent.
and if anyone feels like we are, I mean, that's a joke, so.
Spend more than I'm paid in gas driving around.
Believe me, yes.
I think that next year, when I am no longer supervisor, I think that the board has to look at the salary structure. It's not clear. That's why I'm voting in favor. It's a de minimis increase. It's not about the amount. I think we have to be consistent and come up with some way in the future to be consistent. I think that when the position was created, the intention was obvious, right? You know, because we have town manager. So I just think it was overlooked. And I just think that gap might need to be filled next year with a specific policy. Like Linda said, to do one and not the other. I don't want to take money out of anybody's hands, but it's not specifically in my mind about 20,000 or 21,000 or 22,000. As you guys said, we're not doing this for the money, but in order to just be consistent in my mind, as I mentioned at finance, we have to be consistent across the board. So with that in mind, maybe next year we will consider how that will be done, what the structure will be in the future. On that, any further discussion?
So Kathy, with that said, and because it could affect me, I am gonna recuse myself on the vote. So I will not be voting on this.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think you,
So I'm just gonna shut my mouth and I could walk, you want me to walk out?
I don't think it's necessary.
And I might forget to come back like Kathy did that one time.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
All right. Any other discussion on the budget?
Wait,
No?
how did Gary vote?
Gary said yes.
Gary said yes.
Yes.
Oh.
I did.
And Jared's recusing himself. Any further discussion on the budget?
Doug, can you explain the question that I asked you just for the good of all, the question about the water maintenance assistant, that the numbers didn't jive, and then you explained it, how
Sure.
they did?
Sure, so our water maintenance assistants are all part of a union agreement with the town of Canandaigua. And the water maintenance assistants, like all of our highway employees, have a step system. And so it's based on their service. So for instance, a new employee or someone with less than 6 months of service receives 75% of the salary, of the full salary. And then there's steps from there per the union agreement based on their length of service, going up, 85, then 90, 95, and then a full salary for the years of service. So it may look like some increases are higher, but it's because of, you've got two situations that are happening where there's an increase in the hourly rate, and all of our employees in highway and water are all paid by the hour. There's no salaries there. So it's whatever hours they work, regardless of whatever the salary says in the budget. It's based on the hour rate times the number of hours that are worked. So you have the hourly rate is increasing from 21 to 22 per the union agreement. And then you have some employees will qualify for the next step up. So the percentage of their pay will be higher than 2%, which is the typical cost of living adjustment because of that.
So it's like an up and a diagonal, which we're going through.
Yes, step, yep.
Any further questions? All right, all those in favor of adopting the budget for resolution 2021-237 as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Jared, were you voting on the budget as amended?
Yes,
Okay, just making sure.
yes.
All right. Resolution number 2021-238, authorization to surplus items in accordance with the fixed asset inventory and management policy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-239, approving 2022 dental care program selection.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-240, appointment of part-time clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021 dash, whoops, sorry.
No, okay, I'm sorry. Continue on.
Resolution number 2021-241, setting a public hearing on text code amendment to Town Code Chapter 220 to create the Scenic Viewshed Overlay District and seeker intent to declare lead agency.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-242, acceptance of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board 2021 Annual Report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-243, supporting Ontario County application to TAP CMAQ grant program for construction of sidewalk and bike path on State Route 364 between County Road 50 and Marvin Sands Drive.
So, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-244, endorsing proposed joint consolidation agreement et al. I'm not going to read that whole thing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-245, accepting MRB proposal for building programming and concept design study services for Motion Junction at Outhouse Park West and authorizing town manager to execute agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-246, approve the updated water supply emergency response and vulnerability assessment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-247, approving 90-day extension request for preliminary site plan approval for CPN-21-035, request to rezone 3535 State Route 364. May I have a motion? No one's going to make a motion here? Did I miss something? All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I'd just like to say, Mr. Tolbert mentioned at the meeting, I did ask what happens, for example, if we didn't go forward with the, oh, this is for the rezoning, I'm sorry. Yes, okay. So if we didn't approve the 9 days, they just would reapply. And it was, in my opinion, at this point, it should be completely open, like you said, and discussions will be open in the future. So there's no intention here to do anything other than to make them follow the procedure, which is to request the extension, from my perspective. So any further discussion on this?
I think I wanted to say, by approving the extension, I don't feel like we're weighing in favorably or unfavorably on this. We are just following the normal process of allowing people the time that they need. And I understand the concerns that they have, but I feel like I'm hoping that the process will allow for the right outcome to happen based on our codes and things.
Whatever that outcome might be, right?
So I would also like to add with this, there are a lot of concerns, with this, and I don't know that they would all be resolved within that 90-day extension. I think of the scope of the project, and if that amount of time, considering the amount of time that has already been on the table, if that 90 days will really make a difference in the project for the drainage, the traffic, and the pressure on the lake. And I think as a board, we need to to decide and look at this, because not a lot of these projects don't come to us, but make a decision. Do we want to put our money where our mouth is, and say that, yes, we do want to protect the lake from things that could cause it harm. We do want to protect the view shed and these things, and this is a chance to let them go back to the drawing board and come back with a more appropriate project for that area.
Any further comment on it?
Have we, in the past, anybody's knowledge, have we ever said no on an extension? And what
That's
is
my
the
reflection.
potential downside to the town if we say no? I mean, is there, what will happen if we say no?
They would reapply. Because we discussed that at finance, and we don't have a history of saying no.
Well, that's my
Are
concern.
you asking, is there recourse that they could take other than reapplying?
I'm looking at.
Oh,
You're looking at the.
I thought you were looking over there. It's like, I have the answer for
He's
you.
looking at you, Mr.
Uh,
Naylor.
So, to my knowledge, no. I mean, generally, the town should follow its own, the town board, for example, should follow its own precedents. But in this situation, no, you're not obligated to give an extension. That there is a deadline in the town code. A member of the public gave you some information as to that in terms of an extension might eliminate the ability of the public, the interested public, to participate in the process. As we know, as a general statement, the people opposed to it frequently go south. The people most impacted by this project are in a neighborhood that, at least to some extent, spends the winters elsewhere. That's something. It's a town board decision. You can. It could go either way. The process, obviously, is it's the mixed use overlay district. It goes from town board to planning board, back to town board, back to planning board for preliminary site plan approval, and then back to town board for final rezoning, and then back to planning board for final site plan approval.
Where are we in that multi-step
Where
process?
the applicant, the town board has said, this looks like something that might be a good idea, sent it to the planning board for preliminary site plan approval.
Well, if we just jump in there for a quick second. So remember, originally, the way that process works, and it's spelled out in town code, is they present a concept, you refer it to the planning board for an advisory opinion, which you did. The planning board said, yes, this is generally in keeping with the comprehensive plan. They sent that back to you. You then said, okay, go get your preliminary site plan approval. And that's where it's right now. But if I could just add a little opinion here for a quick second, and I don't usually do this, I think I wouldn't worry as much on this particular one of setting a precedent, actually, if you said no. And the reason is because this one in particular, I myself, the town planner, many of us have tried to provide them advice and counsel. We've met with them on all the things that they need to provide, and their delay is self-inflicted because they won't follow the process and the rules. So I think you should feel comfortable in voting whatever you think is most appropriate and not worry about it.
Oh, great.
Oh,
So,
Can I also just,
Can I speak one more time? I know I already spoke once.
yeah, but I want to jump in. I'm going to jump in first and then you can speak. So Chris, you mentioned that we said it looks like a good idea. I don't think that was what our vote was. Our vote was just to send it on for comment. So I know maybe you were trying to say that as a figure of speech, but
it was a figure of speech and I withdraw it. Thank you
just
for
so
pointing
it's
that out.
clear.
Yeah, I also felt that way when you
Sorry.
said that. I was like, I don't think anyone felt like what we saw was a good idea yet.
Okay,
So,
now, Jared.
Oh, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was done.
So by not extending, this would be an opportunity for us to let them know that, hey, this is not fitting with what goals are, and give them the chance to revise it and come back again.
If I could just, maybe another way to say that would be, hey, the process is defined in town code and what you should be providing to the town. This is hey, go get your act together, get all that stuff together and bring it back.
Hey, you missed it. You had plenty of time.
Well, to be clear, what we have here is a resolution to approve a 90-day extension. What you're gonna, in a few minutes, you're gonna take a vote. If the vote is not favorable to this resolution, then that's it. There's no comment unless you decide to make any.
Right.
Obviously beyond this discussion that's been recorded.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of the 90-day extension signify by saying aye. I will say aye. Again, for the reasons stated. All those not in favor signify by saying no or nay.
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 Resolution number 2021-248, response to Ontario County relating to ad hoc committee of the Ontario County Planning Board.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I just want to say the county is still accepting comment on this, so there may be more on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'm sorry. Resolution carries.
Kathy, there's one add-on resolution that you wouldn't have had. I'm sorry.
Okay. Can we have Jared, do you want to cover that one?
All right.
I would like to see it though, or if you could read it to me,
Can you see it?
or email it to me.
So this is resolution 2021
Oh, this was what Jim was talking about, bringing
Yeah.
in?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm good.
authorizing the hiring of a motor equipment operator.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Jared, I told you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. All right, thank you. That was our last resolution. Approval of town board meeting minutes of September 20th and September 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Any requests for changes, deletions, additions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion to approve the town board meeting minutes of September 20th and September 27th carries. Payment of the bills, Lisa.
Utility abstract dated October 1st, 2021, totaling $18,076.54. The general fund, $16,697.54. The highway fund, $1,379. The town board abstract dated October 18th, 2021, totaling $1,030,649.86. General fund is $195,901.35. The highway fund is $321,622.54. The capital projects is $318,682.13. The lighting district is $1,156.24, and the water districts is $193,287.60.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Payment of bills is approved. We have our next privilege of the floor, if anyone would like to be heard. Okay, seeing no hands. Any other business?
Kathy, just one quick thing, and I'm sorry to bring it up under this because we didn't discuss it during the public hearing. I'm still looking for some direction from the town board on the CDBG CV grant application. This is relative to Motion Junction and whether or not to include money for small business recovery. I just need some direction from you guys so I can submit the consultation form. We talked about this a little bit in the finance committee meeting, but you know, the thought process being that there is CDBG CV money for ADA accessible inclusivity And so we can use some of that money for the playground. As you know, we had a special town board meeting September 27th, I think it was. And we talked about this a little bit more, and there was a question about whether or not to include a request for money relative to small business COVID-19 recovery. And I can do whatever you guys want, I just need some direction
Is it
from you
gonna
guys.
help? I mean, will including that help
Well,
the
so
process?
when I would answer that this way. When I made the call, it was all about Motion Junction and trying to get money for that. And they said to me, could you also,
Right, so they suggested it.
yes,
And this is totally separate from the FEMA money, right?
completely separate, yes. And completely separate from the ARPA money. It's hard, it's almost impossible to keep track of all these pots of money right now. It's pretty
And-
tough.
Yeah, my checking account.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure if you were able to watch our finance minutes, but it would be administered probably by the LDC.
so it's not gonna create another issue for us to make sure people are complying
I think
if they apply for it.
I think the worst thing would be is if people don't meet the regulations, we end up just sending it back. We return that money.
Okay.
And it's very specific who can qualify,
Yeah,
what they can qualify for. And as we said in finance, the city of Canandaigua, my concern was in the LDC doing this for the town and not the city, if the city's not in on it, but the LDC, the city has said that it's, I mean, we do that frequently, but I just wanted to make sure that it was stated, right? So I'm okay with it if you don't think it would be unduly burdensome on anyone.
Yeah,
Because it is so specific and there are so many specific requirements, I'm generally in favor of helping business whenever we can.
and if it's a chance to get more, then let's do it.
Okay, thank you. That was all I need.
All right, we have our last privilege of the floor. All right, do we need an executive session?
No?
Oh my God,
This might be the first time all year.
all year.
Our executive session is the Bills game.
Thank you, Buffalo Bills.
Let's go Buffalo.
Return before anybody changes their mind.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I will second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everyone.
You too, Kathy.
Right.